Hi, everybody. Back on campus, Craig Wolfley. I'm Bob Labriola. For the final 4 days of this training camp, boy, Wolf, time flies when you're having fun. But at least now we have something to talk about. The preseason opener Thursday against the Philadelphia Eagles. The Steelers won 31-14. That really doesn't matter as much, I think, as some of the individual and unit performances we saw. So, Wolf, let's get started with you. What did you see that you liked?
Well, there's a number of things that you like. First of all, if I was a player, I would have, first of all, loved the fact I was in a hotel that had air conditioning and a nice mattress and it had remote control and you know, you can call
room
it,
service.
Get food, room service, exactly. But aside from that, the biggest thing about it was some of the young guys started to come out and separate themselves. That's what you want to see. You want to see a guy like Chooks Okafor. All right, now Chooks, you come out there, it's hard enough to start in your first preseason game, but he plays right tackle, and then he shifts over to the left tackle. And the first thing that grabbed me was, okay, this kid's got a brain. All right, he can handle concepts, whether it's right or left. He can do the flip-flop in his head, but it's not too big for him, and it's not too hard for him. That's the first thing that stood out about Chooks.
And let me just throw this in. Chooks Okafor played 52 snaps.
There you go.
More than anybody else.
Three-quarters of it. So
yeah.
In his first outing, he showed me that mentally he can handle it. Then physically, his feet were fine, but he got the punch going. He used his hands. He punched more in a single game night than he did the entire 2.5 weeks of camp prior to that. So that's the first thing that jumped out about me.
Okay, keep going. What do you got?
Okay, let's go with Ola. Now, this is Tunch's training camp phenom, so I hate to talk too highly of him. But the fact is, the kid looked pretty good. Twice, he had two nice hand traps, meaning he reached out, he went for the outside arm of the offensive tackle going upfield, trapped his hands down, and then went around. First one was a strip sack. Second was a pressure. I got to tell you, the second one that was a pressure that didn't result in a sack was a cleaner hand trap than the first one was. This is a guy who consistently got up the field, got after the quarterback, and he did things that I thought he really didn't physically look like he was capable of doing. Set the edge, squeezed on the backside, could do a better job of squeezing on the backside, but when plays came to him, he did a good job of fighting through some of the traffic to get upfield and turn the play in.
And another little note on Ola, he played the most special team snaps of anybody on the Steelers, 17, and as you said to me earlier, that's how you got to pay the rent.
There you go.
Okay.
And one of the things that's important for all these young guys, you got to be able to pay that rent, because until you get up to the biggies, when you're on offense or defense, you got to do something on special teams to get ahead on Sunday.
Danny Smith always says, if you're not a starter on offense or on defense, you better be a starter on special teams.
That's a good word by Danny.
And not surprisingly, third on your list, Mr. Prince.
Oh, yes, R.J. Prince, which would be my training camp phenom. So, I will say this. He got in the fourth quarter. What I liked and what I saw about him was he reminds me, he's very Willie Colon-ish. If you had to go with a Hindu that reminded you of, he's got better feet than Willie. He had pretty good punch. He did a great job of run blocking. And the thing that I liked, they went fourth and inches. They went behind him. And he drove his man down, wiped out the whole side. So I'm pulling for him. He is my training camp phenom, which, of course, I am in contention with Tunch. And I am like 1-1-15. But we're getting better. We're getting better.
Okay, now it's my turn, and which means it's time to talk about the people who actually touch the football. Okay, let's start with the three quarterbacks not named Ben. All three of those guys played, and I thought we saw good things from all of them. Landry Jones started. He was 4 for 4 for 83 yards. The big play for Landry Jones in my mind was when he used a hard count to draw the Eagles defensive lineman off sides, then hit Juju Smith-Schuster for a 71-yard touchdown. That's things the quarterbacks do. Joshua Dobbs then was next. He completed 69% of his passes, which to me, highly accurate, was a good thing. He also threw a 29-yard touchdown pass. The interception he threw, I thought, was a little bit the fault of the receiver not coming back with the ball, but we'll let the coaches really hash that up. And then Mason Rudolph came in at the end, played most of the second half, I believe all of the second half, passed for over 100 yards, 7 for 12. The other guy I thought stepped up and looked pretty good was Stephen Ridley. He only had 14 yards rushing on 10 carries, but I thought that was a little bit deceptive. I did like he converted a 3rd and short, stepped out of a tackle in the backfield when the Eagles got some penetration and got the necessary yardage. But the thing I really liked about him was the way he was pass blocking. On 2 different occasions, he chipped the rushing defensive end to the ground.
As an offensive tackle, you love those guys.
And then went out and caught passes. Ridley finished with 3 catches for 45 yards. And then the last thing, and this is something that I really believe this team is going to need throughout the regular season, cornerbacks making interceptions. Cody Sensabaugh and Cam Sutton each had 1. And, this is a defense that is going to need some help with takeaways. Got to get that number up. Got 2 in the 2 interceptions in the preseason opener, so that's a good sign. Okay, now let's flip it over. Tell me about the run defense. Not exactly a stellar outing right out of the gate. Eagles averaged 4.4 yards a carry.
Too many people got pushed out of the lanes, too many people missed tackles, and too many had busted assignments. What I would say is this. To be expected was the missed tackles. To be expected were a few busts. Not to be expected was the fact some people got moved backwards. We don't want that. You remember in Jacksonville, you left the field feeling very discomfortable about your run defense, having been moved into the second level. You don't want that. You got to come forward, play downhill more. Some of the tackling, as I said, you expect that in your first game because you got to knock the rust off and come out and be competitive. So that, in itself, I saw John Bostic. He missed a tackle, went to the ground, spun around, came back up, and somebody else missed a tackle. He came back and finished the tackle. So that's what you want to see, the guys coming around, reclaiming their stuff and doing what they need to do to get a guy on the ground. So I like what I saw with John Bostic. I saw some other people out there that are getting the job done. Cody Sensabaugh, like you said, I really liked in Cam Sutton, simply because Cody showed me he had a in-season focus. Every time he went by me on the sidelines, I watched him. He was focused for that game. He really brought his game brain to
the run defense wasn't good enough in my mind, but it wasn't all bad all the time. And to me, this is a stat that shows that. Jay Ajayi finished with 20 yards on 4 carries, but one of those 4 carries was a 22-yard gain.
There you go.
Some tackles for loss in there. Particularly, there was one series where Ajayi had a nice run on first down, second down, and third down. He was stopped in the backfield for losses, and the Eagles had to punt. Okay, one other thing we didn't like, pass rush.
Pass rush, I wanted to see more out of the first teamers. We saw more really out of Adeneye and out of Keon Adams. Consistent getting than we saw out of Farrington Huguenin and out of Anthony Chickalo. So we want to see a little bit more of that. That's something that's got to come along and get after a little bit, because you certainly want to make sure that you're getting some more hot little heat coming from the outside than we did last year.
Okay, that takes care of the preseason opener. Thursday, the frozen tundra, Lambeau Field. See you there.
Here with former Steelers cornerback Dwayne Woodruff. Dwayne, you played 12 seasons with the Pittsburgh Steelers. What was your experience like here?
You know, it was great. I didn't particularly care about coming out here to Latrobe for training camp, and we were out here 6 or 7 weeks. It's a lot different now, and fans have a great experience out here as well, and it's good for everybody. And I'm enjoying my day out here today as well. Rain's held off, and nice sunshine as well. Everything's looking good.
What was it like to win the Super Bowl as a rookie?
It was fantastic. I think most kids dream about winning the Super Bowl or the World Series or something along those lines. But whatever your dreams are, it's better than that. And I tell you, it was just a great time, fantastic time. But, you know, the guys and the team, the camaraderie all together, that makes it the best.
What memorable moments did you have with some of your teammates that really stand out in your mind?
With some of those things that really stand out, I can't really talk about. But you know, I remember one particular moment. I was in the locker room, my rookie year, and Joe Green came over and he says, "Rookie, you ready for this?" I said, "Yeah, I think I am." He says, "Well, you're going to see some real football today," and I'm thinking, what have I been seeing all season? Because these guys did some phenomenal, some great things, and we had some Super Bowl players who went on and won the Super Bowl. And I tell you, our team as a whole, took it up even a notch every game to win that Super Bowl. It's just a great time.
Did any players take you under their wing as a rookie?
Probably the number one guy that did that was my, colleague on the other side of the field, Mel Blount. He's one of the things he used to always tell me. He says, "Rookie, the more I try to teach you, the dumber I get." But he was just a great guy, still a super friend, helps me out with a variety of different things as well. He has his Mel Blount Boys Home out in Claysville, which is just indicates the type of person he is and that he always wants to give back.
What went into the decision to get your law degree?
Well, one job was over and I'm looking for another job. But I wanted something that I had a passion for. I have a passion for kids and trying to help families as well. And me being getting my law degree and subsequently being a judge in Allegheny County here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, it allows me to do those things and to help people and to give back as well.
And what are you up to these days? Obviously, you're a judge, but what other causes are you involved in?
One of the things my wife and I are involved with, Do the Right Thing, Right, WRITE, where kids have the opportunity, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders have the opportunity to talk about, how violence has affected them, their family, their schools, and give us some ideas of what they believe can be done to eliminate it. This is going into our 11th year with that. We have a banquet every year and had about 500-600 people participate, over 2,000 kids. And it gives them an opportunity to talk with their classmates and their teachers as well. And they find out, there's a lot more similarities that they have with each other than there are differences. And so hopefully we're making a difference in the kids' lives and families' lives, and also in regard to communities as well.
Quick assessment of some things that happened in stadium for us, things that we didn't get a chance to talk about. B.J. Finney has a contusion. We'll follow his progress, but it shouldn't be a lengthy period of time. The rest are just bumps and bruises associated with play. We gave Sean Davis a day on a groin. We had Xavier Grimble wasn't able to finish with a thumb injury being evaluated. Other than that, man, we getting some guys working their way back and out of rep management, and that's an important thing this time of year. You like guys to work and work freely. It's difficult to gain some of the experience and betterment when you're continually managing reps and from a health standpoint. So to get some of those guys out of that caution area is significant, so that they can move on and really focus on the play itself. Some situational ball out here today. Just getting reacclimated to this environment. We got a big week up here this week. We want to finish it with an exclamation point as we move into our preparation for Green Bay. Questions?
Mike, to see anything in your review of the game that jumped out at you that maybe you didn't have a feel for initially?
Some things that were important to us, things that we talked about, relative adjustments to the points of emphasis from a rule standpoint. We weren't perfect, but we were better than our opponent. And that's what we have to be as we all found our footing in terms of some of these points of emphasis. That was exciting. Ball security and ball searching. We did a better job of taking care of the ball than our opponent, and that helped us. You take care of those things this time of year in terms of laying a foundation for play, adhering to the rules of the game, trying to play clean from a penalty standpoint, and winning the turnover battle. You give yourself a chance to perform, and those are things that jumped out at me.
Good to see 84 back out there.
Yes.
Two guys that splashed had some moments in the game, Patterson at wide receiver and Ola at 92, the linebacker. Is that consistent with what you have seen from those two in practices thus far in camp?
They've had their moments, but a lot of guys have had their moments. The moments that you have out here set up the opportunities that you get in stadium, and they've earned those opportunities and they made some plays. They were playing in the groups that they were playing in. Oftentimes performing the way they perform gives you opportunities in some other groups. And so we'll see if that upward trajectory in their play continues as we give them some opportunities that they've earned.
Mike, is there anything that James Washington needs to do to get his group status elevated?
It's just a process, This is not a patient man's business. I'll never ask people to be patient. I'll ask them to work while they wait. And he's doing that. And so the opportunities are going to come, I'd imagine.
With the turnovers, you produced a product of what you guys have been working on and doing out here?
You'd like to think so, but sometimes it's just opponent negligence. The big thing is that you put yourself in position to be opportunistic. And that's what we're doing with the workout here. You put a focus on something, you put yourself in position to be opportunistic, and when that happens, you feel good about it.
Were you able to figure out what might work, what might not work according to the kickoff from the preseason game out moving forward?
You know, it goes beyond just the games and the stadiums that we're in. It's all the games. Right now I'm doing a good study on, you know, the 13 or so games from last week. In that area, I think all of us are taking the same approach. Volume is good in terms of information gathering, so it includes the games outside the stadium that you're in.
Mike, what do you want to see out here from players that maybe had a bad play or a bad snap in the game?
You know, I just want to see their ability to move on. Not only guys that played poorly or had a bad play, but guys that played well and had good plays. Regardless of circumstance, man, we got to, you know, prepare, play, analyze, and repeat process and use that analysis in our later preparation. So I'll be interested in how all of these guys respond to that first performance, whether it was perceived to be good or bad.
With Antonio's status, is it one that you have to continue to manage that from an injury standpoint, or is he full go, Sergeant?
We're going to manage it. It's the appropriate thing to do. You know, it's August, and so we're going to be smart in terms of how we work him back in.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Thank you, guys.